This shirt pops.
You're on, you're live.
We're live. Do you want to start this thing?
I guess so. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Liberty Pub. We are still on lockdown. We just learned today that our illustrious mayor has extended the emergency until the end of the year, which is really just an excuse for her to keep telling us how to live our lives. Needless to say, we're not all that happy about it. But on a brighter note, Kibby and I actually escaped for a while this month. We went to Alaska. Since we live in DC, 2 blocks from the Capitol building, we needed to get as far away as we possibly could. And since we couldn't go to Europe, Alaska seemed like the perfect spot to go. It was great. We had lunch with a moose. We ran from a grizzly bear. We saw a black bear, luckily from far away. But more importantly, we actually got to reconnect with what our country is really about. Alaska's amazing. People there have a strong sense of individuality and also community. We were there over the 4th of July, which was pretty awesome. Everybody was wishing us happy Independence Day. There were fireworks going off all over the place. And then we foolishly checked in online and saw that across the country, government had basically banned the 4th of July. They weren't letting the cities set off fireworks. That sucked. But
we're against that, by the way.
Then we saw something pretty cool in that people in Chicago and LA said, you know what, we don't need the government to set off fireworks for us. We can certainly celebrate on our own. So they set them off themselves. And there were great pictures of the skies over LA and Chicago just completely alight with fireworks. And it just shows that we really don't need government to do a lot of the things that we think we do. We can do it all for ourselves.
So if you're wondering who will build the roads, the real question is who will set off the fireworks. And it turns out that we can privatize the presumption of government top-down provision of fireworks. Sorry, Terry, I went
there.
Full marginal analysis on you.
I thought I got that out of you while we're in Alaska.
No, it's still here.
All right, Kara, what do you got for us?
It's a pretty hot introduction right there.
How about, all right, let's see. Welcome, everybody. A lot of you have been to our Liberty Pubs before. Welcome back to Liberty Pub from Free the People. So we're very glad you could join us. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping. We've got some people joining us on Zoom, some people joining us on our YouTube and our Facebook Live pages.
So we still have to...
And so, cool. So just a few things. So if you're joining us on Zoom, you'll notice that everyone's muted right now. We're going to do that for most of the call to keep the chaos at a minimum. If you have a question or a comment and you want to be unmuted, then just please raise your hand virtually in the participants area of Zoom. So just down on the bottom, if you're on a computer or your phone, there'll be a button you can click participants and then click raise your hand down at the bottom. And once we see your hand, we'll just unmute you and let you talk on the call today. If you're watching the Happy Hour on YouTube or Facebook, we'll be taking questions there as well. So just type your question into the chat box and we'll announce your name and read your question aloud for you. So if we're joining today, you guys can get free shipping in our shop. Just FYI, use promo code LibertyPub, all one word, and you can check out our shop at freethepeople.org/shop. And finally, if you want to get notified before we drop new content, you can sign up for our email list, freethepeople.org/join, or just follow us on YouTube. So that's it for now. Cheers, everyone, and back to you guys.
All right, so Kara said cheers.
No, Kara, hold on.
Wait.
I know there's a program here, but Kara, what are you drinking?
Oh my God, I didn't have any beer, like any beer in my house, literally. Like we had a big party and we drank all the beer and it's a White Claw. It's a White Claw that people
Wait, so we're going to have to talk about your job tomorrow.
Yeah, this is...
I almost came empty-handed. I was like...
There's a line in the sand. No, I just, I won't shame anyone else for what they are or not drinking, but I expected better from Kara.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I've come prepared. I usually have good drinks. Listen, it was a busy day. I couldn't go to the beer store. I'm sorry.
You know they deliver, right?
Well, not the one that I go to. They don't do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, somebody step in, please. Really.
I don't even want to talk about Matt Battaglia's preferred beer of choice. It's embarrassing. I'll be honest.
So enough of drink shaming. We should be shamed actually, because I don't have a cocktail in my hand and that's really just not right. But I'm going to have one soon. And we're so excited because we have Lamar Lusk with us. He's lurking in the background back there. You can see him dancing a little bit. Lamar is our favorite bartender here in DC, and we haven't been able to visit with him forever, since March.
So if you think about where we're at, and we've had this second spike, which I think is more about the ability now of us to do tests, as it is the reality of more people getting sick. But more and more governors are having a second wave of shutdowns. Terry already mentioned that the District of Columbia has extended the emergency through the end of the year. And I think it's going to be a long time before we can go to our favorite watering hole and get a proper cocktail. To me, this is the apocalypse. The apocalypse is not when the zombies show up. The apocalypse is when you can't go to a freaking pub and get a proper cocktail. So we figured, just like fireworks have been privatized in the sense that people are going to do it for their own damn selves, we're going to help you figure out how to make a proper Manhattan from the number one expert in the entire world, Lamar Lusk. And no pressure, Lamar. And by the way, if you've noticed, there's the production values for this show are insane. We have Logan and Trey over here, and we're going to shift everything over, and it's going to be awesome.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys.
No.
You're up, Lamar.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful introduction.
All right, so we're like sitting at the bar with you again.
I know, right? As close as we're going to get for a while. But
that's what this was really all about.
You know, man, I really appreciate it. This is one of the things I was talking to you guys earlier. And one of the things I haven't been doing in a while is standing for a long time because I'm so used to doing it. So, you know, here I am now. And I can't thank you guys enough for the opportunity to do this. This is so awesome. You guys tell me all the time, and it's a lot of people that tell me all the time when they come in and Charlie Flowers, like, Lamar, you make the best Manhattans. I'm just like, man, I'm just doing the recipe. I can't think of anything that I do differently. There may be some muscle in here, my form, kind of like Popeye with the stir. I don't really know, but I just try to make it work. But more than anything, I'm just glad that people enjoy it, and we're getting a lot of requests, so it means a lot to me, guys. So. Without further ado, I can just jump right into making a few of these cocktails.
Tell us how to do it. You're giving away all the company secrets here.
I have so much game to work with here. It's unbelievable. If I was to choose, a rye whiskey would technically be my preference to make it. It's a little bit heavier on that bite for me. And if you're not going to do that, most bourbons are sweeter, except for where you get to these two guys. So if you get to a Booker's or a Little Book, anything with an overproof, then you're kind of meeting that push for that strength of a decent Manhattan. So High West makes a really good one. There's plenty of others out there. Whistle Pig, Basil Hayden. I can go on and on and on. It's kind of hard not to find a decent rye. And we had to talk about vermouth. This will be the standard. A lot of people on the upscale level will like Antica. However, I think this is a little sweet. So you know.
So which one do you like? You go straight. Is martini?
I'm gonna go on the high level here. Since I rarely get a chance to do this, we're gonna spoil ourselves here. So
we're going big.
Yeah, go big or go home, right? Very good. So the first thing that I do, and I'm gonna do this for two because that's what I'm used to doing. When I see you two, I know automatically I'm making two Manhattans right away. So got a little vessel here with bitters. I mixed Angostura and a little bit of orange in here just to give a little tinge of sweetness there. I don't want to go too sweet. I know you guys don't like too sweet either. So, and I didn't bring any red cherries, Luxardo cherries that we're gonna go with here today. This is the main thing right here. It's all about that cherry to finish it off with. So we got that going. So let me get you about a good 6 to 8 dashes here because I'm gonna make enough for two. So just gonna get that in the bottom.
So I'm pretty certain that the only reason that Logan and Trey showed up here is because they heard that you're making cocktails for everybody.
Well, they won't be disappointed. They won't be disappointed at all. We're gonna.
By the way, the live stream will get a little blurry as we get. as we get into the
That's
evening.
what we do, blur lines. All right, so we're gonna go with the midwinter drum here. Unless you guys, what do you guys think?
That sounds great.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, let's do it. So I'm gonna go a double of 2 ounces because I'm making 2 of these, so we'll keep that in mind. That's 1.
So I already screw up my Manhattans because I always do the bitters last.
Oh, do you?
But I guess
You know, it's one of those things I like to just kind of get out of the way, get it in there. It's the presentation, and you know, I think it's awesome splash.
yeah.
I got it out there first, right?
And sometimes you forget the bitters.
A little more here for
Yeah, one for the team.
with that. And then we're gonna go a 2 ounce pour to offset our main liquor, the rye. We're gonna go with 2 versus a 1 ratio. So we're gonna get 2 ounces of this since we have 4 plus ounces of rye whiskey in here. So we're gonna go a solid 2 ounces of sweet vermouth. It's feeling good already, man. I'm getting back to some familiar ground here doing this with you guys. So another thing we can also do is I like to chill off the glasses a little bit. You guys have already chilled them free, but just kind of get some extra now set. A little bit of ice in the glasses here.
I will admit that we have an entire shelf in our very small freezer that is dedicated basically to our bar.
Oh, yeah.
We keep a bottle of rye, a bottle of bourbon, and 2 glasses in the freezer at all times.
Very nice. Hey, I would do it too if I had room. I got like one of those small studio freezers and keep so much.
It might be why we had to get a second
A second
fridge
one.
in the garage.
Yeah. So being in this coronavirus, I've always, you know, it allows a lot of time to think about things. I mentioned to you guys, I'm trying to, I need to get started with like a YouTube channel or another source of inventions and doing things like that. So I was looking at the bar setup over here, and I thought of a concept. As I mentioned Bar Lamar to you guys, I have a second one that's called Barkitect. So my background, probably one of the things that makes me a great bartender was my fascination with architecture. I was an architect major in college. So that's one of those things that probably led me to do what I do pretty well, is calculations and design and that fine, you know, thread at the end of what I'm doing.
It's a science.
Attention to detail.
It's a science.
It is. All right, so I'm gonna add some ice to this and just kind of swirl that ice around.
So
it probably doesn't look like much, but once we add ice in here, you're gonna get some dilution here. So it's gonna add to it. But yeah, go ahead, man.
So Logan suggested, and I was a little aghast. I want to get your reaction. Logan suggested that all cocktails should be shaken.
Wow.
What's your response?
No. No. I mean, I work, Charlie Palmer's is located at 101 Constitution. So you're looking at like the footsteps of the Capitol, basically. And I learned as I go. To be honest with you, I'll never forget this story. One of my few first shifts behind the bar that I picked up, and I had made a few Manhattans, and I had stirred some and shaken some because people would ask for them shaken for whatever reason. So these are all the way wrong, but it's a preference, you know. But I will say that mostly, if someone orders a Manhattan, you will not shake it. If they tell you to shake it, then of course you're gonna shake it. But if they don't say that, you don't automatically shake that. You wanna stir that and dilute it like I'm doing here.
I love that. Logan is not all the way wrong.
Remember the old James Bond movie? Like they would ask him, you know, shaking and stirred, you know, if you want that martini. So the difference, if I shake a cocktail, you're gonna mix everything completely. Some people like the ice chips, some people like it to be colder. That's one way to do it. Another way is to get sufficient amount of ice and stir it until it's as cold as you would like it to be, and to pre-chill your glasses. But you're gonna get a very cloudy thing. The Manhattan is a presentation cocktail, so this is supposed to be neat. Has a what I'm looking for. You know, when you stand up tall when you drink this Manhattan, you know. So
Presence.
it has a presence. It's like a suit and tie, you know. You put this on, you know. So you drink this drink. So That's what you're looking to do. You want to stir this enough to get everything well chilled, mixed together, and you'll see that we're gonna skip the cloudiness of this drink. I'm gonna add a little more ice in here because
it's
sure.
DC and it's July and it's hot.
I came over here pouring, right? It's a good time. But growing up in Houston, lots of humidity, lots of sweaty days, lots of grassy weather.
So what's your opinion on proper versus perfect Manhattan?
I like the proper. This perfect Manhattan is what you're gonna do is like we would do the one portion of sweet vermouth. It calls for you to mix that one portion with a half portion of dry vermouth, which is clear. To me, it kind of takes away what I'm looking for within a Manhattan. But for some people, they like it. They want to cut that harshness, and that splitting this dry and sweet vermouth is probably going to cut it a little bit more. So if that's what you want to do, by all means. I like for when I'm drinking a whiskey cocktail, if it's stirred for sure, I'm thinking I'm going to get something I'm going to hold and, really, really enjoy.
So what you're saying is whatever drink you want, as long as you don't hurt people or take their stuff.
Exactly. I love that. I almost want to name a drink. Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. So
well, I think that has to be the first cocktail of the bartender.
that's right. I'm on it. I forgot to pull my strainer out. Somewhere in there. I need that thing.
Uh-oh.
Logan, are you going to insist that Lamar shake your cocktail?
No, I wanted him to do it his way.
I feel like we sort of beat you into submission on that.
I don't care how it looks. I like it to taste good.
Did you forget it?
I don't think I did, but maybe I did. But you know what? I got a backup strainer. So. That's what I'm here for.
That's the ultimate professional.
Never been used before. Always carry a backup, right?
I mean, I would never think to carry a backup strainer. I'll be honest.
He's a professional.
Oh man, this feels delicious. Even these glasses, I love these glasses here, guys.
Didn't we get those in Prague or something?
Yeah, we got those in Prague.
Look at that. Slow. Beautiful. Nice spill there.
All right.
This strain is a little smaller than I would like, but it works. It gets the job done. So, what I have to do from time to time, ice falls in there. Scoop that up. And of course, Luxardo brand cherries are the best cherries to use here.
So one time Matt and I were at Charlie's and Lamar was off taking care of some other folks, and somebody else made our Manhattan for us and grabbed maraschino cherries instead of Luxardos. And you could see Lamar from like across the bar.
Cringe.
Like you cringed, you came like running over, you took the whole bin of maraschino cherries and threw them away. You're like, these have no business being on my bar. It was perfect.
Man, I wasn't there fast enough.
It was a travesty.
If I would be a Superman, I would have got there a little faster. But yes, guys, beautiful and delicious. I mean, I know you guys have anxiously been waiting for this.
Thank you.
This is
so
like 6 months in the making.
Yeah, we haven't had one of your Manhattan since probably February.
Yeah, it's so
Cheers.
long, right?
Cheers.
Cheers,
you,
guys.
sir.
I'm gonna whip up a couple more of these.
Yes, you
for
should.
everybody else and myself, of course.
Yep. The rest of these guys are going to get a Manhattan, and we're going to do another seamless set change. Back to here.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me, guys. This is so awesome.
Kara is going to be talking about the raffle, I think, now, which gives us the seamless transition time back.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Let's do that.
Correct?
Yeah. So, way to make me feel like shit about my White Claw. My God, it's some drink though. All right, you guys. So we're doing a raffle tonight. If you guys want to win some free merch, we're going to be raffling off 2 different items. So one is basically a poster of your choice. We have about 5 posters on our shop. If you go to freethepeople.org/shop, and you basically get to choose one, and we'll mail it to you for free. The other winner is going to get a Liberty Pub pint glass. I don't have one with me, but it's really cool. We just added them to our shop. Liberty Pub pint glass. Thank you. So you can go to freethepeople.org/raffle, enter your name, and later on in the program, we'll announce winners for both of those. So that's going to work great. Let's see. Are we back now? They're still muted. So help me out, guys.
There we go.
My executive producer was AWOL.
Sorry.
So
Well, no.
I didn't hear what you were saying, Kara, but I assume you handed it back to us?
Well, yeah, I did a raffle. I handed it back to you, and now we were going to talk about the event coming up at the drive-in. Yeah.
Before we get to Seth, let me just say something. I think I've talked about this before, but given the never-ending lockdown, I'd love for everybody on this call to consider giving the Free the People house bartender, Lamar Lusk, a tip. We're going to post his Venmo account. It's a virtual tip jar. There's all sorts of people that have been involuntarily pushed out of their jobs and their careers and their life's work for no reason of their own, and it's frustrating to me. So give Lamar a tip if you can, even though you don't get to drink this delicious cocktail. Sorry, guys, I'm going to do this for you.
I got to tell you, now I know what's really been missing over the last, 12 years since we've been locked down because of COVID. This is phenomenal. So thank you so much, Lamar.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
But make sure to help out your local bartenders and all the people that have done so much for you and your local economy. A lot of these people are hurting right now, and I don't think Washington D.C. cares enough about the pretty devastating consequences of these one-size-fits-all mandates. And enough. I'm on my soapbox. I'm going back to my cocktail.
So you're going to talk about Colorado briefly, and then we're going to introduce Seth.
So speaking of lockdowns and rules and regulations, we've talked about this before as well, but we've made a documentary on restorative justice. I think some of you guys have seen it. And our original strategy for this documentary, which I think is beautiful, I think the Free the People team, particularly Matt and Sam and Logan and Trey, have done a tremendous job telling the story of an alternative to one-size-fits-all sort of punitive justice system, as was true in Longmont, Colorado. Well, as a result of these happy hours, one of our participants and a long-time old friend of ours, Seth Levy, has organized what I think is an amazing hack of shutdowns. There's no more film festivals, but by God, we're going to do it anyway. Am I supposed to hand it to Seth?
Yes.
No? Okay.
Now we're going to hand it over to Seth.
Was another seamless
Okay.
transition.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. So it's funny you introduced it that way, because I actually just got a notification that they're further locking down our county. Eagle County was exempt from the Colorado's laws because we have a pretty kick-ass county commission. And they said, well, numbers are getting so bad that we are going to be forcing you guys to lock down a little bit more, but our event is safe. I got notice from the county commissioners and the sheriff's department that we're still good to go. So we are going to a drive-in theater to not only show the film, but to have a discussion with elected officials and a tripartisan speaker panel. So we're going to have a Libertarian, a Republican, and a Democrat. These are local leaders who are in the position to actually make this change happen. We have the district attorney, the newly elected district attorney coming in to support it, the Republican sheriff. I'm very excited about the opportunity to bring restorative justice to my local area, and also, as Matt said, provide a little hack for a way to have interactive events in person and be exempt from the COVID regulations. So I don't know what else to say. We got our cap. We were capped at 50 now, 50 max people at an event, including staff. Now we're up to we were given the green light for up to 200 for this event.
And it's still limited to 50 cars. Is that right?
Right. So we're limited to 50 cars. A lot of that is just due to the space. It's the highest elevation drive-in theater in the country, and it's in the mountains, so you just don't have that much space. But speaking of, I think we're going to get some really cool imagery. I think you're bringing your staff out to get some video, some drone footage, things like that, and we're going to have all of the local police departments represented. Longmont police are going to be present to speak on behalf of this program, and we'll also have the marked vehicles from all of the county commissioners and the district attorney's office.
So this is, in some ways, this is how I intended for this documentary to sort of evolve, not just as a film, but as a process of educating people that actually have some authority and some ability to transform their own local criminal justice systems. And I always wanted Chief Mike and Kathleen, who some of you guys have met. I think we had them on the happy hour. I can't remember.
Yes, we did.
It's all a blur. And the idea is like, these guys did it. It's not just a theory. It's not just a philosophy. They know the nuts and bolts. They know the mistakes they made. They know what that works, basically. And the idea is to take that on the road and make sure that other people do it as well. I think we just lost Seth, but now who is this?
I don't know. I think he's still there.
Any final comments, Seth?
Sorry, we just had to get unmuted. Well, first of all, you guys made a really cool poster. I'd love it if you guys could put it up. I think that the reception I've been getting across the board, from local activists to the press to victims advocates, they're all very supportive of this initiative. And I just am grateful that you guys are going to be here next week. And if any of you guys are watching are in Colorado, get in touch with us and we will get you a seat, a ticket. Sorry, baby.
Hi, sweetie.
That's awesome.
Hey, this serious photobombing there.
Hey, if anybody on the call wants to watch our, it's called How to Love Your Enemy, a restorative justice story. It's available on our YouTube channel. So you guys can just go for the people on YouTube and watch the full thing there. It's on our website. It's going to be up on Amazon soon as well. So that's pretty cool. So you guys can all check it out.
Cool. So after we got back from, where were we? Alaska. We then did a quick turnaround and totally changed climates and went from Anchorage to DC for a day, and then we went down to Orlando, Florida for the Libertarian Convention. We were there with our whole team. Well, half of our team. Joel Davis was there representing For the People. He's also a delegate. And Trey and Logan were there filming, getting people's reactions, catching a lot of really great stuff. So we're going to talk about that a little bit now.
Do you want to give Logan your seat to talk about this?
Yeah. Logan can have my seat.
And
that means I can go drink off camera.
I'll start, but yeah, that was such a smooth transition. We went from the cold mountains of Alaska to the sweaty poolside of Orlando. It was something else. And I have to give the Libertarian Party a shout out, because they went through a tremendous effort to get an actual convention legally kicked off in Orlando, Florida. They were originally going to be in Austin, Texas, and Austin shut down their convention in whatever it was supposed to be. I think it was in May. I don't remember anymore.
Memorial Day weekend.
There's Joel. By the way, Joel Davis, say hi, Joel.
Hello.
So Joel was an actual delegate from West Virginia, one of the few people I know that's actually been elected and a libertarian. These things don't always go together. And we'll get weigh in from Joel, but I just got to say, like, if you tuned into C-SPAN to watch the Libertarian Convention, all you saw were the nuts and bolts of a very democratic process, and by democratic I mean shit show is the technical term for democratic. Everybody had an opinion, and everybody's fighting it out, and they're all trying to figure that out. But I'll start with Joel, why don't you give us your feedback first, and then we'll get it from Logan.
Okay. Yeah, it started Thursday. Now, back in May, we did do a total online, like a probably 20-hour convention over the Memorial Day weekend. And that's where we elected our the person we want running for president and vice president, which is Joe Jorgensen as president and Spike Cohen vice president. So this was the follow-up, and it was a dual convention. Part of it, we had like 300 delegates and 45 alternates down in Orlando, and then we had almost 500 delegate and alternates online. So it was pretty much the first convention of this kind. And yeah, it was a little chaotic at times, but we have a bottom up type of a party. So the delegates get to decide what the party does as far as bylaws, platforms, and things like that. That's where we vote. So things are going to get contentious. I mean, even if you're in your family, when you're trying to make decisions on things, things can get contentious. But after you leave, we're all on the same page of moving liberty and freedom forward. Some of the things we did get to vote on, we voted for a new chair, which is Joe Bishop Henchman. New vice chairs, Ken Molman from Kentucky. The secretary, Karen Ann Harlos, stayed the same. She won her election. We also voted in our national committee members, the at-large members, and our judicial committee. Just a couple of the bylaw changes we made. One, we require candidates for LNC offices, the Libertarian National Committee offices, to get 15 signatures from delegates before they can even be considered. This kind of helps just having everybody come up to a microphone and nominating somebody. Just, I'm going to nominate my friend because I like him. Now they have to have 15 delegate signatures. Another one is during LNC executive sessions, they're more limited now to what they can do in those executive sessions. Basically, they cannot rule on anything within the executive sessions now, and along with some other things. But sorry, Siri picked up something.
I think that's the Chinese government asking your opinion.
So, I mean, it was a good weekend. I really enjoyed it. We did the whole social distancing, mask wearing. Like each person had their own 6-foot table, and the people behind us were 6 feet away. So it was interesting, but I'm really glad I went.
I thought there was for me, it was really cool to reconnect with people, and one of the innovations, I don't know if it was unique to the Libertarian Party, but they allowed you to sort of choose the level of distance that you wanted, and they had different wristbands for don't come anywhere near me, or come sort of near me and we'll elbow bump, to I need a hug. It's been 6 months since I've had a hug, and that was a green thing. And I'm not a hugger, but I'm a hugger now because the government tells me I can't do it. So I'm sure that's irresponsible, but I can't help myself. So Logan, what's your take on this whole thing?
Yeah, so we were there from Wednesday to Sunday. It was a lot of fun. We had, we were there to kind of document the convention and do some interviews with folks. And I was really impressed with how dedicated everyone was. They all came out, they all did it. They made it happen in spite of all the difficulty. The government made it really hard for them to do it, but they did it anyway. People were super passionate about making sure that everybody's vote counted. All the people who were voting remotely, they wanted to make sure that happened. And I was impressed by that. Everyone was really friendly and excited to be there. I've been to a lot of conventions with these guys, and sometimes some of the guests are a little bit combative, but everybody there was great. They were excited to be there. They were excited to talk to us. And we got some really great talks with people. We got to interview Joe Jorgensen, and we got to interview Spike Cohen and a bunch of other people, delegates, elected libertarians, candidates for office, and just people who were just happy to be there to support the party. It was a great time.
So I'm going to invite Trey Grover to take my seat for a second here. But before I do that, my wife has been politely requesting that I ask you guys to start asking questions. If you want to talk about restorative justice, you want to talk about the LP, you want to talk about lockdowns, you want to talk about anything, you can ask any questions in the Liberty Pub. If you want to debate with Lamar whether or not you should shake a Manhattan, you can do that, but we will mock you.
Thank you. Nice job.
Hello, Logan.
Hi, Trey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Can you describe to me why this Manhattan is so damn good?
Oh, Lamar's a professional. He knows his work.
I know, but for somebody that doesn't ever drink these, I don't know about a lot of you guys out there. I don't ever really drink this, but what's so good? Tell
I
me
think
why.
it's just the good ingredients mixed in the right proportions, chilled at the right temperature.
Cheers.
Cheers. I don't have my drink with me.
Okay, so Libertarian Convention. Who did we end up interviewing, and who do these people need to go watch as they start rolling out over the next few
Well, the big
weeks?
two ones are the candidate for president, Joe Jorgensen, and the candidate for vice president, Spike Cohen. We also got a lot of other interesting people. We got an interview with Larry Sharp, who's a former gubernatorial candidate in New York. We got one with, thank you, Terry. We got one with Avens O'Brien, who is a big advocate for the party, and she's a California delegate. That's out to view. We talked to Joel Salatin, the lunatic farmer, who you may have seen on Kibbe and Liberty before with Thomas Massey, and many other interesting people.
And if you guys are interested in seeing any of those interviews, they're going to be rolling out over the next few weeks, pretty much on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, correct?
That's correct.
And locals. Many of you guys that have not joined our locals channel, you should check it out for sure.
Community.freethepeople.org.
Boom. And where else can they get these things too?
Oh yeah, we got these brand new black and yellow libertarian colors, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff t-shirts, available now in our store.
Yep. And I'm the official salesman for Free the People, pretty much. We
Yeah.
gave away like 300 of these at the LP. So thank you to everyone joining and for who took these, right?
That's right.
Boom.
It was a great crowd.
Hey guys, who is a highlight interview for you guys?
Trey?
I like Spike Cohen. Never heard of him. I've only heard of a couple things about him, but he was impressive, and the dude can dance. Him and his wife were on the dance floor of the very last night doing some swing dance. So it was impressive, man. And he's 38 years old. I think, is he from Maryland?
Yeah, he's from Baltimore.
Entrepreneur, and just, yeah, man. I mean, could relay the message of liberty in a way that was for somebody like myself. I absorbed it, loved it, and wanted to hear more.
Yeah, we did a 40-minute interview with him, which is out today as a Kibbe on Liberty. And we also did a Kibbe on Liberty episode with our good friend Mars Touré, the founder of Black Guns Matter. And that will be coming out next week. I thought that was a really interesting interview as well.
Yeah, it's just taking me a little while to edit because there's a lot of bleeps that I had to put in there. So,
oh, you're not bleeping all those, are you?
No, I'm not. I just wanted to make it seem like it was harder than it was. But overall, we had an absolute blast. And I think Logan highlighted this earlier. We were able to meet roughly 200, 300 people that were just super passionate. About 130 signed up. And I hope some of you are actually joining us right now because it was absolute blast to meet you guys. And overall, it was a successful trip and we got some great content.
There you go. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
You guys, that was so good. Did you rehearse that? My God.
No, I just really like Logan.
So what are we doing now?
We need a bigger studio.
Okay, so now we're gonna, well, I have on here winners and losers of lockdown politics. That's all you. Or we could announce a raffle winner.
Let's do winners and losers first. But does anybody were there any questions? I saw a couple people with their hands raised.
Yeah, okay. I've got one. I've got Brendan Nichols has a question. Let's do it. All right, Brendan, what's up?
Hey, Brendan.
Hi. I'm just wondering what website I can get more info on this Joe Jorgensen presidential candidate.
So why don't you leave a message? I think we already have your contact information, but I'm happy to connect you with Joe Jorgensen's people because I know she's looking for all the volunteers she can get.
Yep.
And her campaign is very much going to be a bottom-up grassroots campaign. It's going to be word of mouth. It's going to be people engaging people on social media, knocking on doors and all that stuff. They have one of the challenges that the Libertarian Party has right now is that the two other parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, create a lot of rules, make it very difficult to get ballot access. And typically, getting ballot access for third and fourth parties is done through door knocking. Well, under COVID, that has been impossible. So the Green Party is really screwed. The Libertarian Party is at 36 states
yeah.
right now, plus the District of Columbia. So they're going to have to get innovative. I mean, they have lawyers engaging and all that stuff, but they're going to have to get innovative on how they get enough signatures in order to qualify for the ballot. I'm sure that's a project, but just message us and we will connect you, because they would totally love the help.
So Seth just posted that he's working with the campaign, and contact him at events@joe20.com, and Seth will hook you up.
So the lesson here is that if you ask a question at Liberty Pub, you get immediate results.
We don't have the answers hardly ever, but luckily the folks that are with us know what's going on.
So I don't know if there's another question, but I did want to follow up on something that Trey said. We have launched a platform at locals.com, and locals.com is a platform that was initiated by Dave Rubin and by Jordan Peterson in response to the deplatforming of people on Patreon. And it's a very cool platform. We've launched a Free the People page there, and I want to do something different there. You can sign up free for the first 3 months. Kara, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the place where we can do the things that supposedly we should have been able to do on social media. We can have an honest conversation. We can make mistakes. We can argue things through. And the first video that I posted was just sort of a stream of thought conversation about my response to the tearing down of statues. The short take on that is, I'm sure, tear down Confederate generals, but really Frederick Douglass and Abe Lincoln, I'm not so sure about that. And so what is the correct liberty response? What is the appropriate attitude about getting rid of the bad parts of our history and making sure that we're fixing our problems? Locals is going to be the place where we're going to have that argument, and I'm going to have those conversations in hopes of translating those ultimately into a finished product, a video or a Kibbe on Liberty, something where we sort of lay down, this is what we think about this subject. Well, we all know that in all these complex issues, we don't know exactly what to think about a lot of things. We're hit by all this stuff. There's confusion about language, and people have different takes on everything. So I'm not here to pretend that we know everything. I'm here to pretend that our collective brain can probably figure these things out together. We're going to do that on Locals. Ultimately, you have to pay $5 a month, and we think that probably keeps the trolls out, the people that just want to cause trouble, the people that want to spread hate and anxiety. But so I think it's going to be a beautiful thing, and we're all in on that. So check us out at locals.com. Where is that, Kara?
Oh yeah, good, perfect. You're going to go to freethepeople.org/community, and you can find it there. And that's the community that Mal was just talking about. So check it out. Join us over there. If you want to get it free for 3 months, it's just code Liberty Pub, all one word. So check that out, guys, and we'll see you on there.
Do we have any questions?
Somebody has to have a question out there.
By the way, the answers get better the more of Lamar's Manhattans I drink.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So we do have a question, and it's not unrelated to the comic that Matt just held up. I think that's some of Matt's best work, and it challenges you to think about the toppling of statues and the protests and the political posturing of both parties in the context of the murder of George Floyd. And here we are, I think 6 weeks later. I'm not sure exactly. It's been a long time. And the political class hasn't done a damn thing. Defund the police. It's a great hashtag, but it's not the kinds of reforms that actually lead to ending qualified immunity, to ending the police unions that protect bad cops. And we've gone through all that stuff. Well, nothing's happened. And Matt's comic captures that. And I'm sort of getting at the age where I just get frustrated with virtue signaling at the expense of actually going through the arduous process of fixing policy and reining in police power and passing legislation. That's what that comic was about. I've been railing about this. I forget what the question was. Do you remember what the question was?
There was no question.
Double standard between protests and other gatherings.
Yes, I was ranting and raving.
No more cocktails for you.
So
No, another one.
No, but that was, now we have like tons of questions though, so that was perfect. We've got ones coming on YouTube also.
So a quick response to that, it bugs me that there is either we're allowed to gather and practice our First Amendment rights or we're not, and it should be the same standard across the board. And that's crazy, I know.
So you're saying that everybody should be treated equally,
As long as they don't hurt people
or
or take their stuff. I'm on message tonight. What do we got?
Great. Okay. Hey Taylor. I'm gonna give it to, oh no, Matt. Yeah. Okay.
I thought we were going to read questions.
Yeah, we were going to Taylor for a question.
Hey Taylor.
A compliment first. Matt, really liked the comic book. Love looking at your artwork. So.
By the way, he loves compliments.
Probably about as much as I love comic books. But I was curious what y'all thought, and maybe y'all talked about this earlier. I had to finish up work, so I was only halfway paying attention. Sorry. What did y'all think about the Harper's Weekly letter and kind of the fallout from that? Not even not just the counter level, which said cancel culture wasn't really a thing, but then Barry Weiss, I think it's Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss's very public resignation from the New York Times.
So it's funny you asked that question, because the entire next Liberty Pub is going to be dedicated to cancel culture and critical theory and all of the things that are leading to this. But the short answer is I'm not a huge fan of Barry Weiss, but the fact that she can't coexist at the New York Times is a fundamental problem for those of us that believe in free speech. It kind of goes back to the local things. We actually think that people of different opinions should be able to peacefully gather and have spirited arguments about stuff and try to figure stuff out. And what's happened on a certain wing of the left, I call them the authoritarian left. By the way, there's the same thing on the authoritarian right, intolerant of alternative opinions and just not down with free speech anymore. I don't know where this came from exactly, but we're digging into this process, and I would suggest you join us for the next Liberty Pub, because that's the entire subject.
Hopefully, I'll be on time too.
Yeah. Conversation goes to those who show up.
We did miss you earlier, I'll admit, but we're happy that you're here now.
Any other questions?
Sam has some YouTube questions coming up.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of questions from YouTube. Going back to the Libertarian Convention. So Nick Fisher asked, how close is the Libertarian Party to attaining access to the debates? Is this a pipe dream at the moment?
So,
well,
you go first.
Well, I mean, they keep changing the rules, right? They keep raising the bar. When
Ross Perot.
Ross Perot, thank you. When he was running for president, the baseline limit was only 5% to get on stage, and he had that, and so he got in the debates and, well, frankly, kicked ass. And then as a result, his numbers went way up, and he became a formidable candidate because he was on that main stage and had a lot of visibility to people. Well, the industrial complex that controls the debates, they saw what happened with Ross, and so then in 2016 they raised the base limit to 15%. Well, that's really hard for any third party candidate to reach without the funds, without the national parties and all of that, without being able to get onto mainstream news and TV shows. So I don't know what they're doing this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they raised it again, although 15% is a pretty high limit as it is.
Yeah, I think they'll wait and see if Joe Jorgensen, or I don't know who the Green Party is running this time. Is it Jill Stein again? I don't know, but they're going to wait and see what happens, and if someone gets close, as Gary Johnson did, they're going to raise the bar. They're going to say this poll matters, that poll doesn't matter. Honestly, I think the only way that third party candidates succeed is by sort of end running mainstream media and sort of acknowledging they're not going to get on the debate stage because the two-party duopoly won't let them do that. There was just a court case. I'm not super fluent in it, but there was just a court case that the LP lost on this subject. So they're just going to have to use a decentralized model to get through to people if they want to succeed.
Do you actually think that the debates are going to happen?
Well, that remains to be seen. That's what I was going to bring up too.
Do you think Joe could string together enough sentient sentences to have a debate?
I mean, they're raising the bar.
Wait, which Joe Biden?
Oh, Joe Biden, not Joe Jorgensen.
They are raising the bar on what's going to be allowed to even start the debate. So I don't know. I think it's possible they don't even have them.
So I saw a funny joke on Twitter, which you guys are free to steal since I stole it from somebody else. So you have Trump with all of his pathologies. You have Joe Biden with his struggle with sentience. Is that a word? Sentience? It's a word.
Senility.
Logan has rolled. Well, that too. And Joe Jorgensen happens to be a psychologist, so maybe it's a perfect mix to have a conversation where she could tease out their insecurities and inabilities.
Trump
yesterday,
Trump and Joe Biden can both be on couches for the entire debate, and then she can be in a chair with a pad.
Yesterday, when I was walking on Capitol Hill, I passed a campaign sign that said, "Any functional adult 2020."
This dreamer.
Sam.
Any other Sam?
Yeah, I've got I got a really interesting one here from Alexander Weselbergel. Sorry if I messed up that last name. He would love to hear some free market solutions to solving our current climate crisis. He loves that Joe Jorgensen's championing the environment as one of our main issues. If libertarians hope to make it any effect on the next generation, we need to champion free market solutions to our eco problems.
So I draw an analogy, and I've noticed other people do this, between solving the climate problem and solving COVID. And I happen to believe in a decentralized approach. When you deal with radical uncertainty and threats that we don't fully understand, the best way to deal with it is to allow bottom-up innovation to sort of come up with new technologies and come up with new solutions and allow people to sort of work things out, because that's what the market process is all about. And I think that is absolutely true when it comes to the climate. And Joe Jorgensen has talked about nuclear as an alternative to coal and fossil fuels. I think that's one thing, but I think it's even more important to say we don't actually know what the next innovation is going to be unless we open up the process and allow people to come up with better sources of energy, better technologies, things that are greener and cleaner and more cost effective. It's the height of arrogance for any politician to suggest that the government and politics could solve the problem of climate, because they don't know. They're not part of that process.
Right. I mean, they're great at picking winners and losers, right? So there's all sorts of government programs to allow you to put solar panels on your house. There's government programs that help people put up these giant windmills to provide power, but there was never any thought about what happens with these windmills when they're past their lifespan, which is pretty short. So now they're filling up landfills. They don't know what to do with them. The power sources that are built into them are causing problems too. Government is never smart enough to decide what's going to be best in the future, but entrepreneurs and innovation will always win out.
Thank God Terry cleaned that up for me.
So I do have a question from Jeffrey Singer. Let's see here.
Yeah, I was intrigued about the earlier discussion about Joe Jorgensen's chances to debate, and I actually the kiddies know a lot more about politics than I do, but it seems to me there's a really good chance that there's not going to be a debate between Trump and Biden. And I think that actually provides an opportunity. In a way, it sort of levels the playing field, provides an opportunity for a Libertarian Party candidate, because now it's who could do the better job through alternative, media, like social media, using the internet, using and so I actually think this could present an opportunity. And then the other point I wanted to bring up in terms of creativity is you have one person who's a sociopath narcissist. You have another person who's probably got a certain degree of dementia and narcissism. And so,
and this is the medical doctor telling us this. So.
Yeah, and we had to study psychiatry in order to get our medical. So I think for a psychologist like Joe Jorgensen, there's an opportunity really to play on this and maybe get some attention that she otherwise wouldn't get by actually sort of posing herself as America's therapist. We have, you got to choose between two different pathologic candidates, or you could have the therapist. And so anyway, it's just a thought I had that I really don't know that we're going to see actual debates. And if we do, it's going to be some sort of thing like this, like a virtual debate. So there's a real, in a way, it brings the major parties down, where they have to kind of fight almost the same way that the third parties have had to fight over the years. Just throwing that out there.
I never thought about it that way, and I think you're exactly right that the typical dominance of the big network debates is probably not going to happen. And I would just add to that, like if you want to check Joe Jorgensen out a little bit, she did my show Kibbing on Liberty a couple weeks ago, and she is an industrial psychologist, and she lectures at Clemson University, and the way that she describes industrial psychology is kind of like herding cats. And that sounds like a good metaphor for where we are as a country right now to work through these things. But yeah, it'd be interesting given the power of Jordan Peterson's message as a clinical psychologist. Perhaps America needs an industrial psychologist.
Well, I wonder too if now in 2020 there'll be a repeat of 2016, where I was told in 2016 that if I didn't vote for Hillary, I was a traitor to my sex. I wonder if they're going to make that same argument and try to shame every woman into voting for Joe because, she's a woman. And so we have to vote for her.
I'm guessing not.
Probably not. All right. There's another question on Zoom.
I've got one from Tara here. I'm going to unmute you.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey Tara. So Tara is with the LP. Have you just woken up from resting up from the convention?
A lot has been going on since I got home. So I have been trying to just find the center of the universe again and get my balance. But we had so much fun with you. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. Both of you were so you were just such an integral piece of the puzzle. the whole show. So thanks a lot for
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to speak on some of the things that you have been discussing in regards to the debates. The Libertarian Party has been suing to get Joe Jorgensen on the debate stage for some time now. And we actually recently lost, and we are going back into appeals for this. And basically what the judge ruled is that the commissioners of the presidential debates are a private organization. They're not a public entity. And so therefore they are allowed to write their own rules as they see fit, which is why they keep making us jump through these radical hoops to get to equality for our party in any way, shape, or form. So that is one really important thing that we are working on now. We also just recently were dealt a blow in Pennsylvania in ballot access. So we are just hitting the ground everywhere, trying to make sure we have 14 states left to achieve ballot access in, and our petitioners are on the ground. We're trying to organize as quickly and as structurally sound as possible. Meanwhile, running a presidential presidential campaign. So the Libertarians are working very, very hard right now to accomplish all these impossible hoops that we're required to jump through.
It's so outrageous that the rules are so different for third parties, and this isn't really a philosophical thing or an ideological thing. It's just that the two parties that control the process don't want competition. And one of the projects that I'm really proud of, you have to go all the way back to 2016. Free the People did a project and a video called More Voices, More Choices. You can find it on our website. And
hopefully somebody will put the link into the chat and out there for people to see.
I bet you that might magically happen, but
do it, guys, I'm gonna do it.
it's it tells that story, and to me it's like every American should want as many choices as are available to them, and it's not cool that the duopoly smashes competition. So to me it's like it's fascinating to me that the court cases are going the way they are, because the very idea of America is radically democratic, pushing all of the power back to the end user. It's not about the people in DC. It's about you and me making choices. So that's what that video is about. We were sort of goofing around, suggesting maybe we should remake that video. Stay tuned. We'll do something, I suspect.
All right. So Sam has another good question from YouTube.
Yeah, so Man for All Seasons on YouTube asks, as libertarians, you appear level-headed, peaceful, and filled with great ideas, but still seem theoretical. The hard left has crossed from theory to violence. Do you see a Patrick Henry moment for the LP?
Interesting question, because I think the response to violence, and I'll defer to Dr. King on this, who very much influenced my thinking on this. His response to violence was nonviolence, and I don't think it ever makes sense to meet violence with violence on the streets. I don't care if it's coming from the right, which it has with some of these neo-Nazi types, and the left, where it comes from Antifa, where they are constantly like beating people and sucker punching people. What Dr. King would say in response to that is that people are watching, and people don't want to see that. People sort of revolt against that. Our response has to be peaceful and thoughtful. The one thing you say that I need to take to heart is that we're theoretical, because we very much try at Free the People to tell personal and emotional stories as opposed to just theoretical theory, and that's where the rest of my team has to come in and take the mic from me, because I'm the guy that quotes that economist.
For the last 34 years of our marriage, all I do is tell him, don't quote dead economists. You will lose everybody when you do that. Tell a story. That's what makes people care.
Well, I'm still married, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, but I still introduce you as my first husband, so don't get too cocky.
But the whole point of like the documentary How to Love Your Enemy, it's not a theory. It's a story about people, and we very much aspire to tell stories about people who have either suffered under the boot of authority, or they've been free enough to pursue their dreams as they see fit. To me, that's the answer. But it absolutely non-negotiably has to be nonviolent. We never meet violence with violence. It's got to be the opposite, because I think that's what would animate the American people. They don't like the tribal war. They want something better.
So I'm going to go back a question to the one about the debates. Our good friend Dennis let us know that the debate schedule's been published. September 29th at Notre Dame, October 15th at Adrian, and then 10/22 at Belmont. There'll be one VP debate on October 7th at the University of Utah, but we'll still wait and see if those actually happen or not.
So we should ask our friend Dennis if he supports the Libertarian being on that stage.
All right. I'm gonna unmute Tara again because she raised her hand in with one of the last questions.
Cool.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask you guys what you think we can do about these 87 protesters that were arrested in Kentucky on the Attorney General's lawn, who are working to get the cops that broke in and entered Breonna Taylor's home arrested. There's definitely a lot of energy around making sure Breonna Taylor's death is recognized as a criminal offense. Just wondering what your thoughts are.
I don't know about the incident. I know the horrific story about Breonna Taylor and no-knock raids. Senator Rand Paul has introduced legislation to prohibit no-knock raids, and I think I can imagine the frustration of people where we can't get any traction on actually getting justice for Breonna Taylor. And if we can't get it through the legislative process, as long as it's peaceful, I don't know what happened on that lawn, but as long as it's peaceful, we got to get people's attention. We have to demand justice. But again, justice is not a protest. Justice is not anything less than changing policies so that no-knock raids don't exist anymore. And I know that Justin Amash, the only Libertarian in Congress, supports this. Rand Paul, a libertarian-ish Republican, supports this. I don't think that Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell support this. So you do the math.
Yeah, I did a comic specifically about this as well recently, and if people would like to share that and maybe target it at your representatives, it seems like the fact that the event itself hasn't captured the public's eye has really caused it to be kind of forgotten and swept under the rug in a way that other things haven't. So I think that people need to keep the heat on it.
It's one of your best comics, and I said this at the time, but it is a graphic illustration of the murder of Breonna Taylor. And the difference between George Floyd and Breonna Taylor is that there wasn't a video, so people didn't see what happened. So we tried to capture through the comic the injustice that happened and why the people that did it need to be brought to justice.
And just so you guys know where to find that, it was really good. Right now, I mean, it's all over all our different social properties, but it's pinned to the top of our Facebook page. So if you just go to facebook.com/freethepeople, you'll see it at the top of our post there.
Let's talk about something happy. I'm getting sad right now.
So I'm going to announce the raffle winners soon. So if
that sounds happy.
Well, yes, because everybody likes to win. So if you haven't signed up for the raffle, Kara, remind them again where to go.
Last call for raffle signups. Thanks, Terry. freethepeople.org/raffle, RAFFLE raffle. Sign up and we're gonna randomly draw 2 winners. One for the free poster of your choice. That's the best prize of the night. Sorry. And then the beer pint is really cool too. But
so we have these new beer pints, and we woefully don't have any of them with us on set.
Yeah.
But it's the Liberty Pub logo, the girl drinking. They came out cool, and so yeah, that's the other one.
Trust me, they exist.
They do exist. I could run downstairs and get them, but I'd probably fall down the stairs. Because I'm drinking Lamar's cocktails. So Matt, you were going to just talk about winners and losers in the lockdown, and that'll let you get your rant out and get all your anger and
It'll just make me more frustrated, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet. But I've always had this theory that lockdown politicians, and there are both Republicans and Democrats that are guilty of this, that there will be some sort of voter backlash when push comes to shove. And I think reasonable people thought that reasonable things should be done to deal with what is a very deadly virus. And I've never thought about this as, I don't think it's a hoax. I don't think it's something to be dismissed, but the response to a deadly virus can't be political. Politics doesn't actually have the ability to solve complex problems. Political solutions are political. Real problems are solved by smart people sort of being free to work stuff out. And I feel like the entire politics of lockdowns, there's going to be some accountability for that. And maybe I'm just optimistic about that. Maybe you guys will prove me wrong, but I think that the way that we have always dealt in modern times with serious outbreaks, viruses, pandemics, all that stuff, has never involved telling everybody to hide in their houses. That feels sort of like witchcraft or something medieval, hide. It feels like a Monty Python movie or something. And what we would do as smart and sophisticated human beings is that we would free up the medical community and other innovations. We do what our mom told us to do. What did your mom teach you to do? She taught you to not cough in people's faces and to stay home if you're sick.
She might have also taught you to don't hurt people and don't take their stuff.
It's the same thing. It's the same damn thing. So that's my short hot take on that. Because, by the way, I'm running out of cocktails, so we're going to have to wrap this up soon.
So, but before we do that, we're going to cut to, so Kibby and I are never put together, but our team is what keeps us on the straight and narrow, and they make sure that everything that we do looks good. And so Megan has beer pints and all of the good stuff. So she's going to show off some of our cool swag. So there is Megan.
There's the pint.
Hi guys. I'm Matt and Terry's assistant. I also help assist with the other team members.
Hey, I could ask you a question. Is that a White Claw in that glass?
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you.
This is the Sauvignon Blanc. So is it cheap?
That's acceptable.
Yes.
So much better.
I've taken a step back from the White Claw. But we have these awesome new Liberty Pub pint glasses. We also have really cool new koozies. This is our Liberty Pub one. And then this is my favorite right now. We have these awesome yellow Free the People koozies. Bandanas, as you can see, you can also use these as masks. And of course, we always have wine glasses for anyone. And this isn't just beer is freedom, wine is also freedom. So make sure you check out our shop. And if you do buy anything, make sure that you tag us in your Instagram post. Maybe we'll feature you. And as always, hashtag beer is freedom. Thanks.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks. So we're going to do one more question that Sam is going to tell us, and then we're going to announce the winners and wrap things up soon. But so anyway, Sam, back to you.
Sure, yeah. Vince Perfetto on YouTube. What are your thoughts on the successes of the Free State Project?
This is me again.
Yeah. So, well, it'll be a joint project. We'll both clean up each other's mess.
So Terry and I have spoken at the Free State Project a number of times. We're a big fan of the experiment, and I hate to quote Mao, but I'm going to quote Mao. The strategy for liberty needs to be something like I'm butchering Mao right now. Let 1,000 flowers bloom. And I don't normally quote Mao, but when I do, I butcher it.
So what the Free State Project is, we should probably start with that.
Yeah,
for some people that don't know, it is a movement to try to get libertarians to move to New Hampshire. It's a fairly open and free state as it is, but the thought is, since it's a smaller state, if you get enough libertarians in there, we can kind of take over the state and take over the state House and Senate. I'm all for it. I wish it was a little further south because New Hampshire is kind of cold for me. So we're still having that debate.
So I've been trying to convince Terry to move to New Hampshire. And as you can tell, I'm not having much success right now. But I love all sorts of experiments about theories of social change. I've probably spent way too much of my personal time working on politics. But the idea of creating a community in New Hampshire is a pretty cool project. The idea of Free the People, which is to tell the story of liberty in an emotionally compelling way, is a really cool project. I love think tanks and I love policy organizations and I love the Libertarian Party that's trying to do that. These are all experiments because we as libertarians don't know what the answer is. And I'd rather not put all of our eggs in one basket. And I'd rather that my wife Terry would let me leave Washington, D.C. and move to New Hampshire. But she won't. Help me.
Someday.
Defend me in the comments.
I keep telling you, you're not retired yet. There's still reasons for us to be in DC.
I can do everything I do from New Hampshire.
No, you can't. Can you walk to Senator Rand Paul's office?
By the way, I'm a libertarian, except when it comes to my household governance. It's a totally different thing here. Help me.
But you're still here.
Help me.
You're still here.
Help me.
Wow, this happy hour has
this has gone off the rails.
So I am going
winners.
I'm going to announce the winners, and then I'm not sure if I should let Kibbe give final closing remarks. Maybe I should turn that over to
Take
Lamar.
it away, yeah.
So all right, I'm going to just kind of scroll through my my iPad here and see where my fingers lie and land on the winners. So for the poster, we're going to go with it's Josh Withrow from Arlington, Virginia.
Oh, hey, not Josh.
No, it's not rigged. It's not rigged. And then the pint glasses that we have coming up. Let's see, who does that end up being? Tanya Shepard from Orinda, California. And Rourke has just come onto the set. So can you bring him into the picture, Matt?
Maybe.
Are there any final questions of anyone that wants to bring things up? Anyone with their hands raised? I can't see.
Okay, I've got Taylor.
Okay, Taylor, final words.
Yeah, I have a question. You guys have discussed the lawsuits against the Commission on Presidential Debates regarding involvement in third parties. Are they technically a private organization, or is it because they are run by the political parties, technically, or at least formed by the political parties? They're more of a quasi governmental organization. Also, completely separate question: have you guys ever had Manhattan Project Beer Company? They're a Dallas beer.
I have not, but you've just added that to my list.
The team is going to be heading down to Dallas at the beginning of August for the Young Americans Liberty Convention, assuming the government lets that still happen. So we will add that brewery to our itinerary, and we will get back to you, Taylor.
So I defer to the video that I mentioned earlier, More Voices, More Choices. The weirdness of the Presidential Debate Commission is that it's actually a 501c3 nonprofit, which is super weird for two political parties to have that are excluding other political parties from participating. And check it out. I don't have a clear answer than that. I just find it outrageous that they continue to control that debate stage.
Any other final thoughts, Kibbe?
The final thought is that a proper cherry is not phosphorescent red. It is a beautiful brownish red, as it should be.
All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
That was a weird end of the show.
That was okay. So that was perfect, Trey? All right, cool. thank you all for joining us. For those of you here on Zoom, after we cut out from streaming on Facebook and YouTube, feel free to hang out for the after party. And since my glass is empty and Kibby's glass is empty, we're gonna be calling on Lamar, but I heard